Ran a lot of red zone stuff.
Yeah.
What was behind that?
Yeah, that was really the focus. A lot of this week, we're getting into a lot of situational football now, and red zone was kind of the emphasis this week. Twofold, right? You got to get those situations in, and it does kind of save some legs a little bit, especially with the receivers and DBs, just not having to go quite as far on the vertical stuff. But I thought it was good. We'll have a big competition tomorrow with some red zone stuff and go live and tackle a little bit.
Your axe winner today, you had a couple of nice catches.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, Chance Bogan, he's a veteran guy. He was a guy that I helped get here when I was an assistant coach back in 2022, and he's had a lot of ups and downs throughout his career. His first 3 years, had a bunch of injuries, kind of medical things. Last year was kind of more of a breakout year for him where he really got a chance to play, and this season I think he's done nothing but get better. He wants to be great so badly for himself and for the program, and so it's pretty awesome to see a fifth-year guy. We don't have a lot of fifth-year guys anymore in college football, so it's nice to see a fifth-year guy really taking the most of his opportunity, and he was awesome today.
Speaking of injuries, is Art Williams done?
No, his return to play is slow. We really want to make sure that when he's ready to play, that he's ready to play. I think we got to protect him a little bit in that respect. He had a pretty serious injury, and just want to make sure that when he's back, he's fully healthy.
He had a shoulder?
No, it was a knee.
A knee.
A lower body.
That was last year, correct.
Yeah.
So besides Bogan, who stood out today for you?
A couple guys. Brody Michael on defense had a nice play on an interception. I think the O-line as a group has really stepped up in terms of just their knowledge, handling more. Leighton Vining, I think, had a good day today. I think Charlie Vliam had a good day today as well. So those guys really kind of stood out to me, especially in a non-padded day. It's easy to kind of go through the motions of O-lineman, but I felt like that group did not do that. Defensively, I think those DNs are really standing out to me. Javen and Mari, the twins, the Augustus twins, I think have done a good job. Luke Teskey has been a really nice addition as well. And then Mason Cron has been steady Eddie. Might not have some of the flashy plays, but has all the dirty plays. I mean, that dude is going to do a great job in the trenches, and has had a good fall camp so far.
So Rolf had a nice break up in the end zone for you.
Oh, Khalid has been amazing. Yeah, he's another guy who's really stood out throughout the course. He actually got got Defensive Player of the Day yesterday. But he's getting his hands on some footballs. He's doing a good job being physical in the run game. It was a really good transition moving him from corner to safety.
How many positions are still open? Are things lining up? Do you have a pretty good idea of the ones and twos and whatevers or not?
I think the picture's starting to get a little bit more clear. I think kind of the next really 5 practices will tell us a lot. I think by the time you get into practice 12, you kind of know, or at least have a pretty good feel who your ones or twos are. And I think there's some guys that are still battling to get in that conversation, but the picture is starting to clear up a little bit.
Overall, do you have a lot of guys who look like if you need them, they can play?
We do. Depth is really good right now. I do think we have a lot of competition battles, and so, like I kind of mentioned, the ones and twos are kind of shaping up, but those threes are not far behind. And so I still think you'll see a lot of competition between the ones and twos and the twos and threes. And so depth is something that I think is a strength for us right now. We've been able to stay relatively healthy, and I think we got some really good pieces right now.
I heard your offensive coordinator in your remarks saying across the 20, 80% should be touchdowns.
Yeah, that's what we're looking for, right? Those are difference-making plays, right? We talk a lot about 4-point plays, the difference between getting a touchdown and an extra point and a field goal. We don't want to lose those 4 points when we get down inside that 20.
And the rest of camp, what are some of the big emphases the rest of camp?
We got to tackle a little bit, right? We've only tackled a handful of snaps right now, but we have, I think, 3 or 4 practices scheduled where it's going to be primarily just play football and tackle a little bit. So I think that's a big focus for us. Continuing to be consistent with everything we're doing, but specifically in the pass game, both offense and defense. The quarterbacks continue to be consistent, receivers continue to build that chemistry, and in the back end, really working on our communication.
Yeah, how's that working on defense? Because seems like that's going to require a lot of shifting, a lot of new things to learn. And
Sure, I think
are they up to speed with that?
Yeah, I think we've really thrown a lot out of them. Coach Stalker's done a great job with the install, trying to be top heavy, trying to, hey, let's put everything that we have in. That way we have something to draw back from. But I really do think the guys have done a phenomenal job of picking up what we're trying to do conceptually, and that way, the system can carry over regardless of who's on the field.
Last couple questions.
Yeah, the last thing I wanted to ask is about the air and the weather. Has that been much of an impediment or not?
A little bit. We wanted to get outside, and we have not got a chance to do that. We were really in our 4-day blocks trying to split 2 days inside, 2 days outside, just to obviously get outside in the weather, right? A little bit of heat. Our first game will be down in California. Also just want to be able to get data. It's hard to get our GPS data in the dome, but I think our strength staff's done a good job of taking care of these guys' bodies, and even though we don't have the data, we're getting enough to where we know where they're at.
So, Coach was saying that the line had a pretty good day, seems to be solidifying itself today as well.
Yeah, we've had a pretty good camp overall today. We kind of did some red zone goal line install things at a little bit slower pace, so guys can see things and guys can kind of react at a different pace right there without seeing the physicality. Tomorrow now, we're going to get those real live reps now. So now they've been able to see it, and then they're going to be able to take that and add the physicality to it.
Yeah, it's, I guess, kind of important to be able to get the concepts at a pace where you're not having to defend yourself every second.
For sure. And the biggest thing we stressed today was hands and eyes in the right place. If your hands and eyes are in the right place, especially in those goal line situations, there's a lot of bodies down there. And if you can get your hands and your eyes in the right place, you're going to have a chance. You don't want to catch something out of the corner of your eye and be surprised by it.
So what kind of lines are going to be this year? What are the strengths of this line?
Yeah, we're really deep. It's the deepest O-line that I've had. We were talking today in the room. There's guys that traveled last year that won't travel this year, and that's just the fact of it. We've gotten some really deep improvement from the freshmen that came in, Kingston Kirkhoff, Jace Winchester, Omar Kaba. They've done a really good job adapting to it, and it's given us a little bit more of that depth. And then some other guys, Howard Stefford, he was a guy that came to us from a Division II program last year. We were able to get him in some 6 O-line packages, rotated him at guard a little bit last year. He's been really strong in the spring and then really strong right now in fall camp. And that's a testament to his work ethic. He's worked extremely hard for it and really has adapted, and we're really excited for the season he's about to have.
Is he full-time replacement at left guard now?
Right now it's still a position battle. Again, being deep, it's a nice luxury to have. A lot of people are trying to find 5 guys that can play. We feel really we got a pretty deep rotation in there to fight for spots. Tyler Skinner from Moscow is another guy. They're really fighting neck and neck for that spot. And really they're making my job hard as far as who's going to play for us.
Ideally, what kind of rotation would you like? Would you like a deep rotation? You can move guys in and out.
Yeah, I love a deep rotation. For one, being healthy is going to be important, and making sure that everyone can stay healthy. And then if someone does get banged up, you don't feel like you have any drop off. And that's what we talk about all the time. If you're in that next rotation, it can't be a drop-off. No one cares that we're playing our 3rd string tackle, for example, if we get that banged up. Okay, we still got to go out there and we still got to execute. So everyone's got to act as if they're the starter. Love having deep rotation. When we get to it, we'll see how we kind of use that rotation. Sometimes it's hard with O-line chemistry to rotate a guy out for a series and stuff like that. So I'm still kind of messing with that and everything like that. But we do have guys that can rotate in for a series, take a blow off somebody, and get to work without being worried. So, and some young guys that really have a chance to come in and make something happen.
Has the role of the line changed much this year with the new offensive coordinator?
Yeah, I think so. We got to go a little bit more up tempo. Coach Shu goes some up tempo times, so we got to be in shape and ready for that. And they've worked really hard at that. And we just continue to get bigger. And Coach Coop does a great job in the weight room with those guys. We're a lot bigger than we were last year. That was one of the big focuses is, adding muscle mass, not fat. And they've done a great job in the weight room all winter, all spring, all summer, getting those guys ready to go. So that's one of the biggest things is we're more physical, we're bigger up front. we got to move some people.
How do you feel about this group now when you have, I mean, one of the more important aspects of an O-line is guys who are not just good individual players, but who can play as a cohesive unit? With the sheer number of snaps we bring back from last year, talking about, you know, four or five guys who started every game, plus some of the depth guys that you've mentioned, what is it, you know, how do you see this unit now compared to this time last year, just from that experience, that cohesiveness they bring back?
Yeah, the biggest thing we talk about is playing as a nickel and not five pennies. Right, we can't be individuals out there. We got to play as one solid unit, and that's our biggest focus every single day. You got to know how the guy next to you is going to take on that combo block, and every guy's a little bit different. So you got to get those experiences together. So I do switch up the first group quite a bit, so that you have to go with the backup tackle and the starting guard, so that everyone feels that and can talk. And we do a lot of mini group, small group stuff here, and I think that really helps. Like, everyone has a little unit that they're in charge of, and they meet and watch film together in those small groups. And to me, that's really where the O-line play comes together. You know, I got no ego in this. It's not like, hey, it's just I got to be there talking the whole time. No, I got leaders in the room, and you're talking about guys that are taking a lot of snaps. Lane Vining has taken a lot of snaps. Keegan has taken a lot of snaps. Chuck has taken a lot of snaps. Those guys bring all that back, and now they're leaders, and they can get in small groups, and they can have meetings on their own, and they can talk about all the smaller details of everything. The biggest thing this year, this will be my second year here, yeah, we changed up some of the techniques to fit Coach Shu's offense, but they know my verbiage, they know our language that we have here, so now it's a lot easier when we're in meetings because I can quickly say stuff, and the freshmen have picked on really fast as well. You know, and leadership's everything in the O-line room too, and I feel really blessed that I got about four coach players out there with me, coaching those guys up. When we're doing drill work, they're talking to the freshmen about it. They're talking to the younger guys, and they're helping me because I'm focused on who's going at the time. That freshman comes to the back, and they're getting coached up by somebody, and that's really important to have.
How much has that specifically helped implement the new offense that is, you know, quite a bit different than what we saw last year?
I think a lot. Just those guys being mature enough, you know, and being able to handle all that stuff. And with that whole new offense that came in, spring was really valuable for us because I needed to learn what Coach Shoemaker wanted from the O-line. We needed as a group to kind of learn how to play within the system. And then the cool part now is they're learning how Coach Shu's stuff works off of itself, right? It's not just a bunch of plays. That's not what his offense is. It's an offense that's dynamic and it works off of it. So if you're a defensive coordinator and you want to take something away, well, you're giving us up something. And he can attack it, and he's really good at that. And the O-line is really starting to understand the whys and the hows of all that kind of stuff. And we're being able to get to a really deep level with it. This summer was huge. We did a bunch of stuff this summer with those guys. We do something called flipped installs, which is really we put all of the, like a presentation, I'll film a whole install. We'll do all that stuff. We'll put it online for them. They get to watch it, and they get an in-depth thing of it. And then they come to the meeting room, and now we're filling the gaps in, if that makes sense. It's not just, hey, this is the first time they've ever seen this play. They've already ran it, they've run through it, they've seen film of it. They come into the meeting room, they have questions, and we fill the gaps in. So that flipped install has been a huge implementation on this program.
You mentioned you practically have 4 assistant coaches out there. There are some guys out there you could see having a role like yours someday. You have a future in that?
Yep, Lane Vining. By far one of the smartest kids I've ever coached. I've been trying to talk him into that route. Now he got an extra year of eligibility, so it's delayed a little bit. I'm really hoping I can get him to be a GA because he'd be a wonderful coach, and he does a great job. He's so smart how he sees the game, and you really need a center like that. That center is that key piece for us, making all the calls, making all the decisions and everything like that. And when you got a smart guy like that, you can kind of give him the keys to the car a little bit and trust that he's not going to take it off a cliff, you know. But he'd be a phenomenal coach one day. Keegan Hinson's also another great guy, especially technique-wise. Keegan does a great job with that, especially with the young guys, teaching them all that stuff. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, definitely have some future coaches in that room.
That's awesome.
Go ahead.
Nice catches there in the end zone.
Yes, sir. Try to catch as many as I can.
Coach was saying that you overcame a lot of things early in your career. Last year's kind of a breakout. You're building on that. How's that been this year? Yeah, what's that like?
All thanks to God, following in His light, I was able to, stick through any adversities that came my way. Build a little character on the way. Coming out here, the support from my team, my coaches, just the supportive staff around me, just allowing me to come out here and be the player I know I can be. It feels great, having that time that I had to take off really made me enjoy the now.
Well, what are your thoughts about this team, this year's version?
This year's version of the team, I think it's great. I think the bond that this team holds right now is something super significant. People hanging out outside of their own position groups, outside of just offense and defense, young guys and older guys, everybody really coming together, and I think that really just makes the atmosphere of the Dome itself tenfold. I think we're coming together great with our new offense and defense coordinators, Coach Stalker and Coach Shoemaker. They bring a certain kind of experience and expertise to this team that I think we needed, and it's working great.
What's it like to play against that defense every day?
that defense is something to go against. It's fun, iron sharpens iron. Sometimes they'll get you, we'll get them a little tit for tat. It always makes it fun in the locker room with a little chit chat.
Those two catches in the end zone, tell me a little bit about each of them.
Oh yeah, well the first one I had in the end zone, just a corner route with a couple 5-yard ends outside of me, allowed me to ISO up with anybody on the inside that wanted to try to guard me, allowed me to get in my zone and get open. We had another one, we call that like a floor route. It's a little reverse whip, kind of taking my eyes off the corner, and then once his eyes come off of me, I whip it back in, and I'm an easy read for the quarterback in the end zone.
You had to go up to get that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Strong hands is what you gotta have if you want to play D1 tight end, though.
And do you feel like your role in this is pretty well identified? You know where you're gonna, where you fit in the depth chart, the things you're gonna be doing.
Absolutely. I feel like, once you get into this point of camp, anywhere you go, spots start to get, I won't say solidified at all because nothing's set in stone, but guys start to get an idea where they are on the depth chart and in what aspects they can help the team in. So, by this time I definitely know I can help the team in the run and pass game at this point. Proving myself every day. Going to continue to do so, never take my foot off the gas, and, continue to get out there so I can make plays.
This is the last go-round for you, right?
It is. It's my last go-round.
Going into this season as a senior, what mentality are you bringing to that?
Man, I just want to bring glory to the Vandals. I've been here since 22. Never wanted to go anywhere else. I'm V's up till I freeze up, and I'm never getting cold. Just all my guys that I've seen throughout the years through here, I still keep in contact with, making them proud, making all my other former Vandals proud. I just love Idaho. I love Moscow. I love the Dome, and I want to put on for everybody that's around here.
Yeah, Coach was mentioning that you're kind of a dinosaur, a fifth-year guy.
Something like it. Been here for some time with through some different coaches, different players. Seen a couple hundred guys through here.
Do younger guys kind of lean on you, rely on you, pick your brain? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. I've taken a lot of the younger guys. I make it a hard point to make sure that the younger guys come out of their comfort zone to come hang out with old man Chance every once in a while outside of football. Kind of get in their brain, let them know what kind of tradition is over here in Moscow and how to get down in college.